This week, America celebrated the 50th anniversary of John Glenn's historical spaceflight in 1962. Now, while Colonel Glenn was the third American in space, he was the first to orbit the Earth and blazed a path for the future space program. Glenn trained for 3 years for his 5-hour flight, but he was still taking a risk with his own life. A calculated risk, but a risk nonetheless. It was said this week that Glenn was regularly required to look at an eye chart to make sure that the shape of his eye was not changing, which would indicate a health-threatening issue and would have cut the flight short. This would have also cut Glenn off from 50 years of bragging rights. The vehicle Glenn rode in was called the Friendship 7. Now, the computer on the Friendship 7 was as cutting edge as 1962 permitted, but it should be noted that the first silicone transistor was produced just 8 years earlier by Texas Instruments. Many of us carry around more computing power in our back pockets and our cell phones than was allowed to John Glenn when he achieved low Earth orbit. By today's standards, John Glenn took a ride on NASA's interstellar equivalent of a '79 Ford Escort with blue pinstripes. Experts agree that while President Kennedy was a visionary and moved this country's space program way ahead, as a society, we were really pushing the envelope of our capabilities by sending men into space in the early 1960s. Getting more to the point, I've spent a lot of time thinking about risk-taking this week. We all take risks every day when we drive cars or fly in commercial airliners. Risks are inherent to life. While our lives may seem boring and repetitive on the surface, there are risks taken by all of us every day. But then there are those who take risks to a whole new level. I can remember seeing Carton Pastrana and others like them attempting those early freestyle motocross backflips in the early 2000s. Within 6 years of nailing the backflip, Pastrana landed the double backflip in the X Games in '06. Now, what was once the holy grail of motocross tricks is commonplace due to the knowledge gained through risks taken. Attempts at backflips were made all through the 90s by many risk takers. Every time they did so, something new was learned. There are risk takers in business and in life. Some jobs by their very nature pose constant risk to the one doing it. Firefighters, police officers, military pilots, soldiers, and submariners all take risks every time they go to work. Some people risk financially by investing in the unknown. Early Google investors will say it was totally worth it. Early Vonage investors would totally disagree. Risk is inherent to gain in many cases, but risk is not always a predecessor of gain. So this week I thought, what about faith? Could the principles of gain via risk not also apply to a life of faith in Jesus Christ? In the process of accepting the teachings of Jesus, some of us fall short of the risk that comes with the surrender of our will to our Lord. There is a risk to surrender. You might just be called to some foreign country that you've never heard of and possibly can't pronounce to serve as a missionary. You might find yourself living a life like former missionary Susan Hardman and live your entire adult life on the mission field. Or you might find yourself giving up your comfortable life to care for those in need, like Ken and Sue Clarkson or Mark and Cindy Stevens, both here in Dayton, Ohio at Target Dayton Ministries and the Gospel Mission. The challenge I have placed on myself this week is to seek out what risky Christianity looks like. As an American Christian, I really can't say that risk is ever going to be as high as for those who live in countries where Christians are put to death for their belief. So what risk is there really? I could garnish the label of Jesus freak. Ooh, that's so harsh. I could have people refer to me as a fanatical. Ouch. I could have people unfriend me on Facebook because they don't agree with my views. Oh, man. Written in the book of Joshua, we have these words. Have I not commanded you? Be strong, be courageous, do not be frightened, and do not be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Something to pray about, don't you think? Thanks for watching.